I was remiss, I did not read this letter into the record yet. So going backwards, April 7th, 2017, it will be a concern. I go the Caker of 206 Washington Street, Quincy, and opposed to the expansion plans and patio underway by Mark Capone of Cactus Restaurant, inclusive of the newly proposed courtyard restaurant, bar, and patio. These alterations have a direct impact on the quality of mine and my family's life and greatly infringes on our rights to live in a quiet environment. Sincerely, Dowie Caker. Sorry to put that in there.
Mr. Chairman, I do understand there were some people that didn't understand your prior announcement.
Yes. So I certainly will go back and say this. This is not a usual presentation to the board. Usually people have something denied and then they come here. In this case is a little bit different. It's the exact opposite. Here, we didn't deny something because we didn't hear something. And someone wants us to do something, okay, which is different. And so it's a little confusing, but there are two different sides here. And every side has a right to speak publicly. So, just for ease, if you are in favor of getting rid of the patio, come speak. Please.
Anybody that wants to speak on the side, line up. If just one, good.
Hi, Marina Salinas. I live in the first floor apartment, and my bedroom window is, and I did measure it, it is exactly 4 feet, 4 inches from that fence. I live alone. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. I never got the letters, by the way. Thank you. There was never anything sent to us to go to any prior hearings of whether this should be done or it shouldn't be done. If we were opposed, or I would have been opposed from the very beginning. And just to clarify a few things about what he said. I'm sorry, but in 1920, 1 in 32 households had a car. That's why there is nothing about cars in 1920. Also, it wasn't a driveway for a dumpster. It was for the tenants who lived above the cafe. Because I was kind, and I would say hi to my neighbors. So I know there were their vehicles. There was 2. They were both white. One of them was a very nice Volvo, so I really want a Volvo. My issue is, I am 4 feet away from this. You can see right into my window, into my bedroom window. This isn't my living room. This isn't my kitchen. This is my bedroom window. How safe do you think I feel that there's people that can look into my bedroom window, knowing how close they can just jump over that fence and break into, especially now that it's summer, which the window will be open to get some air in. Someone can just break in. They can just see and look and say, hey, she has fancy stuff. Let's go in and get it. You didn't think about that when you were building your patio. I'm okay with daytime stuff, but at night, I live alone. I feel safer if I knew that people weren't getting drunk right next 4 feet away from my window that could come and vandalize my place or even come and park behind our parking spots because we have parking behind and just take the parking because there's no parking in the street or in wherever there's other parking, because people are like that. People are just going to park wherever they feel like, even though it's this private property everywhere. And we have this problem all the time. People just come, teenagers that park in the back, and I have to remind them, this is private property. And they're just like, oh, sorry, and they leave. I'm not going to say that to someone who's drunk. Living by myself, to a man, I'm not going to tell them, please leave, because they might retaliate. So I don't feel safe. Why should I have to leave my home, where I've been for 3 years, just because he felt like putting up a patio? Which, by the way, you should have been there for the building of this patio. 6 in the morning, the most awful sounds starting at 6 in the morning. Mind you, yes, I have to wake up for work, but I don't know about you guys. I don't like to wake up to that sound. And it wasn't just Monday through Friday, it was also on Saturdays, when you should be able to wake up at 8 or 9. No, you have to wake up at 6 because they were working for 3 weeks straight. A no would have been nice. Lawyer, we didn't get any.
Speak to the board, please.
Sorry. We didn't get any. And even Mr. Chenette asked, did you get a letter to go to this hearing? No. He asked 3 times because we were supposed to get 3. And I was like, no. There was nothing in our box. So I don't understand, but my concern is my safety. I'm not here about boards and I don't know laws. I'm from Texas, I know Texas laws. I don't know Massachusetts laws.
They have laws in
I'm sorry?
They have laws in Texas.
I know, right? Ours are stricter, by the way. You can't have a bar 200 yards away from a living residence. So they're stricter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
This is against? Or
Yeah,
for?
we're still
Who's
on,
waiting?
Okay, are you gonna speak? You can speak,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name's Stephanie Sullivan. I live on 34 Edward Street, which our backyard, you can see counties from it. And just with the patio, just for noise, I mean, we can hear, we're on another street and we can hear it late at night from outside the patio. So just the noise disturbance late at night, my husband and I wake up very early in the morning for work, and to hear music and the people outside of the patio in the car, just a big noise disturbance. So that's our feeling towards against it. So just quickly.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you get notice of the hearing?
I
Too far away?
don't believe so.
Good evening. Dave McCarthy, 48 Whitney Road. I was here for the licensing meeting, and in all due respect to Mr. Fleming, who's a lot smarter than me, I don't think that this venue is being used as any type of way to get around disappointment on Mr. Chenette's behalf in regard to the licensing. If the zoning board meeting had felt before the licensing, you'd have the same crowd in front of you. So that's just point number 1. He had spoken to me and a lot of friends that support the Chenettes over the years, and it just seemed like that licensing board meeting was getting crammed in, and the zoning should have happened. I looked at all of you folks tonight, and Mr. McRitchie's 7 points, even if he's not correct on all 7, I think we have some zoning issues here that somehow Cagney's was able to dance around. I watched your faces looking at things that are so-called signs, lights. It's a great effort by Mr. DeBona to brighten up the place, but in regards to the proximity of the tenants, and the young lady was just here, the lights, the noise, and etc., the closeness of the fence, which is probably 3 or 4 feet off the house, is going to be an issue for Mr. Chenette, because it's going to drive his tenants out. And as he made a comment, it's his retirement. He planned on that retirement for that setup. It'd be nice if something could be worked out, if the patio could be shrunk in size, if hours could be worked out, because it is an odd case where Cagney's, then the patio, then back to the poorhouse, then the patio gets connected to the poorhouse, you know, licensing wise. So just those 2 points. I think the zoning issues are here. I don't know why or how it got by zoning to start with. That's the first point. And the second point, in no way are they using this venue to try to be disappointed over the license. They would have loved to have a zoning board meeting way ahead of that licensing meeting, because Mr. Duca was there that night, and the chief and Chief Barron, and the questions were geared towards licensing. But Mr. Chenette had no alternative but to kind of make a case so he could get here that there was an issue at Cagney's on Washington Street. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
John Rutherford, 62 Grand Wall Road. I just want to make one point on when it comes to license board meetings, sometimes on the agenda, they have items that aren't even on the agenda that are posted on the public board, and they'll hear items that you didn't even know were gonna be on the agenda. So the license board doesn't always post all items on the agenda. So for proper notice, this was there twice at 2 different times, so, you know, the public did have a chance to speak out. I actually spoke out in favor of it the first time because he spoke like it was gonna be part of Cagney's, but it isn't. They haven't been straight with what they've been doing the whole time. I don't understand. You have to be fair to everyone in the city. You can't treat some people and give them all sorts of extra benefits, which is what Mr. DeBona has gotten many, many, many times. Okay, he comes up here for special, not really here, but to the license board. Even before this, he's had many asks at the license board. So, for what you're saying, anyone can come to the city and open up a restaurant and you don't need any parking? Is that correct? So can I open up a restaurant anywhere and you don't need any parking requirements to open up a restaurant? I mean, I was floored at that license meeting myself. I was like, why isn't this at zoning? So this is at zoning right now. So I mean, if you, the zoning board, you would have said, put a fence up. You would have made them put a fence up if you did grant them the variance. But they weren't granted a variance. They actually were granted a variance by the license board. And the license board doesn't grant variances. The zoning board grants variances. And no variance has been asked for, and no variance has been granted, yet they have the benefits of a variance. This sets a horrible precedent for the city of Quincy, and we're here today because you guys are gonna make it right, okay? And let them do what everyone else has to do to make it fair to everyone. It's not about who donates money to who or who supports who. It's about do the right thing, okay? And the right thing here is the peace and quiet of those tenants. No one should have a bar within a foot of their residence. I mean, it just shouldn't happen. I know the zoning board wouldn't allow that ever in any other situation, okay? So please stand up for, you know, they're not saving cancer, they're serving alcohol, okay? We have enough places in Quincy that serve alcohol. You don't have to save a place to pour. That's actually what they call it, the pour place or whatever. But please, I'm confused what I'm even asking for right now. I'm asking to just, you know, deny that patio from anyone drinking on there ever again. Let the people, if they're gonna drink, do it inside so children don't have to walk by and see them drinking alcohol. Thank you.
Anybody who wants to speak on the other side of that issue now? And if you're gonna speak opposed, just come up now, because I do want to go to bed sometimes.
Hi, Jeff Hines, 197 Elm Street, Quincy Center Neighborhood Association. I'm not speaking for or against it. I think there's some, well,
Go ahead.
do you want me to wait out?
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
confused
no,
the way you were calling people up. I'm sorry.
So am I.
There's some points of clarification though. I think, well, first of all, I wish they could get together for the sake of everyone and maybe work on the parking and stuff, but there were 4 businesses there originally. There was a tailor, a barber shop, then Cagney's, which way back was Phil's, and there was a couple of restaurants, but this goes way back. And then there was Republic had the place in the corner, so there were 4 businesses there, not 3. And but they were small businesses. And then this, which was convenience store, whatever, they started serving food, and that's how I guess they got the 4 seats. I'm not positive on that. But parking is a huge issue, but I commend Mark. He's done a great job with this property. I think he runs a good show. The place looks good, everything. But Mr. Chenette has fixed up his building too. His building looks great. So, you know, we're trying to do something that works for everyone. Maybe if the city's in the business of buying parking lots now, like they are down the neck, maybe they can buy a parking lot there and everyone can win. I don't know, I don't think that'll happen, but that would be a solution for the neighborhood. But as far as the parking is a huge issue. Right now, because the delivery trucks used to sometimes use that area where the dumpster drive or whatever you want to call it. Now you got them double parking out on Washington Street, so that is a problem. But I understand the business was there for a long time. I don't know what the solution is, but I think it's something that has to be thought of. And then it's very confusing with how many seats there are, because this whole letter that went out was very confusing to begin with. And the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe, which was Republic Plumbing, which is now the Function Room, I believe that has 75 seats. So then the restaurant, I don't know how many it has, and then you're gonna put 24 more seats in next door, then with the patio, I mean, how many people we?
I'm not putting any seats in, that's the license.
Okay, well, well, the reason it's confusing is how many more cars are we gonna have in the neighborhood? But then again, the business was there beforehand, I understand that, he's done a good job. But if you go back to 1920, whatever, like they said, most people were walking, so it's a different, I don't know what the solution is, but maybe, unless they could work out something with other neighboring businesses to park there. So just my point, thank you.
Thank you. Does one person want to speak?
Last, please.
Come on, guys, you want to talk? Let's do it.
Good evening. My name is James Schindler. I'm a real estate professional in Quincy. I work for Boston Premier Properties. We do focus a lot, mainly on rental property. Just want to speak briefly on the marketability of the rental property in and around Washington Street, primarily north of Pond Street. All those reside within half a mile to 0.6 of a mile of Quincy Center T. It's my experience that any apartments, specifically one bedrooms, that do become vacant within the ability to walk to a train station, very rarely stay vacant very long. I can totally appreciate his existing tenants not loving the idea, but his inability to rent that property moving forward, in my opinion, would be very easy for him to rent that if his tenants chose to leave. Simply because one bedrooms with the ability to walk to a train are in high demand and aren't always in short supply. So again, what you're seeing in Quincy Center, they're getting exuberant amounts of rent because those people can walk to a T, to entertainment, to dining, to shopping. On a smaller scale, north of Pond Street and Washington Street offers the same ability to people who maybe have one car or no cars. They can dine, they can shop, they can walk to banking, they can walk to public transportation. So it's my feeling that unfortunately, if his tenants chose to leave, I feel his ability to rent that property would still be intact. Thank you so much.
Can I speak on behalf of Mr. DeBona?
Sure.
Hello, my name is Kerry Byrne. I'm a hospitality, public relations, and business development consultant for the city of Quincy, primarily focused on the downtown redevelopment. Before that, I spent 25 years covering the food and restaurant industry for the Boston Herald, publications all over the country. And what you learn over that time is that restaurants, places to eat and drink and meet friends and neighbors, are essential to the quality of life, the livability, and the image of different communities. And the reality is, for a long time, Quincy, and I'm a lifelong Quincy resident, lagged behind other satellite communities around Boston in that image. We weren't seen as a great place to go out and enjoy yourself and have a nice meal and enjoy yourself and go back home and whatnot. And we've seen what the gentrification has done in Quincy Center here with all the new restaurants. People all over Boston now are talking about, hey, let's go out to Quincy to eat. It's bringing a lot of business. It's bringing new visitors. It's improving the image of the city. And Mr. DeBona, thanks to his own creative energy, his own personal financial risk, has done a great job revitalizing that end of Washington Street, right on the edge of Quincy Center. I think Mr. Chenette himself said at one point the building we're talking about was a check cashing facility, and let's face it, that projects a certain image, and it's not necessarily a desirable image. When the Poor Yard opens, assuming Mr. DeBona gets his patio, it's going to be a much more desirable place to live. It's going to make that neighborhood look like a better place to live, to visit, and I actually think it's going to end up improving real estate values for Mr. Chenette and everyone else around there. And it just makes Quincy a better place, and I think we should applaud Mr. DeBona and support him for putting his personal risk into improving the city of Quincy. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to call that part of the meeting closed after. Actually, do you want to?
Actually, go ahead, Jay, first.
He said it was closed, too late.
No, I didn't say that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jay Duca, Director of Inspection Services. Just want to make a couple of clarifications and give a little history on what the license board did. The applicant was before the license board after a groundswell of support from the neighborhood. The license board voted 5-0 to allow the patio extension. The city of Quincy encourages these types of venues. They're all over the city. License board has permitted many of these extensions without zoning review or permits. These are seasonal uses. They are all over the city. I chose, in this case, not to make any finding or zoning opinion, as I did with dozens of others. This patio was an improvement over what was there before. It wasn't uncommon that people were out there smoking. The dumpster was there. It was pretty dilapidated. In all accounts, it could still be used for its intended purpose where it was. I don't want to confuse the issue anymore. You've heard a lot about subdivision and all that stuff. The fact of the matter is, this patio is existing. It's an accessory use, and it always has been to both these venues. The loss of 2 parking spaces I felt was de minimis because there's plenty of on-street parking. This was the testimony that we received at the license board that there was never a problem with parking. Again, there was much neighborhood support. The appellant was there and opposed to it, but again, with overwhelming support, we decided to approve that. A couple of things Mr. McRitchie talked about that I will try to clarify for the board. He talked about eating places primarily in enclosed structures. Primarily, it doesn't preclude that it could be open, just for the board's information. It's not exclusive, not limited to an enclosed structure, it just means primarily enclosed. Secondly is the subdivision, when it was done, it didn't change the building, it didn't change the use, it didn't change anything. It just subdivided the lots and made separate lots. So this venue and the accessory use have existed for a long time. So just wanted to let the board know that we made these kind of decisions in the past. We will continue to make them. We don't make any zoning reviews on them. They're seasonal uses. I would ask the board, I know Councilor Forrest is going to speak. I would ask the board, now that I've got more information from both sides, I would ask the board to continue the case before they decide it tonight, so that it would give me an opportunity to meet with all the parties for the next 2 weeks to try to find some common ground. Thank you.
1 second.
Sure.
Could you clarify the sign issue that Attorney McRitchie brought up?
Yes, and thank you for asking that. I have to tell you that as a license board member, my view and what I thought was going to happen was not what I see in the pictures that you see today. I don't know if you've seen those pictures, if they're in your packet. I intend fully to address the fencing, the lighting, the music, the signage. I intend to address that. And most importantly, I intend to address any noise. I've not had any noise complaints. I've been told by the appellant that there's been noise complaints. I have not received any, but I can tell you I enforce the noise ordinance in the city as the zoning administrator. I intend fully to make sure that there's no noise. The license board, we have strict guidelines on noise, and we have ways to deal with that quickly and immediately. We can pull that extension at any time. So I intend this to be a quiet place that people can enjoy a drink in the evening during the season. That was what I was sold on, and I won't speak for my other license board members, but that was pretty much what the presentation was back then. So again, I would ask you to continue this, not vote on it tonight, and continue to give me an opportunity to meet with the rules.
What was the
Is that answer your question?
I have one more for you.
Sure.
And you touched on it. Was there any restrictions in the licensing approval for the lighting, the hours, and probably not zoning related, but more out of curiosity of the big picture? Was it extremely confusing?
Yes.
Complicated matter?
Yes, the license board, all the venues that we have licensed for extended patios, very critical, low lighting, either no music or very low music. It just, especially next to residential areas, which we have, hours, I think were limited, and I don't know, I don't have that in front of me. It was limited. I think it was either 10 or 11 o'clock.
11.
11.
No TVs.
No TVs. So the license board is very, we understand it's next to a residential property. That was one of the reasons they put the fence to help mitigate that noise. But we do have tight controls over that, and we're able to monitor that very closely and act very quickly on that license extension.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear a response to the question about the sign though. What kind of sign is it?
There will be no sign like that. They are entitled to a sign. I'll be glad to look at any sign application they want to submit. And if it meets the Quincy sign ordinance, that'll be something I can approve.
And just to address that as well, I'm sorry, Mr. Duca, that was a temporary sign that's been removed. There's no intention of replacing that sign with a new restaurant name.
Thank you. Councilor.
Good evening, Margaret LaForest, Board 1 Counselor for the record. I just wanted to kind of go through, as you know, before you, I'm a frequent flyer to the board, and as the patio began, when it was originally to be part of Cagney's, prior to the breakfast place leaving, Councilor Kroll and I hosted a neighborhood meeting. That letter went out to an expanded abutter list. I can provide that to you. It was hundreds. It was the residents along Washington, on the Ward 1 side, which is Cagney side, Brad at the other. No one's attended. That was in advance of let's explain what's going to happen with the patio prior to the licensing board. So that letter gave two opportunities: one, come to the neighborhood meeting; two, come to the license board. So I just want to be clear, kind of as we triggered this off, the outreach, many of you subscribed to my newsletter, it was out in there, some social media, and I felt we did a lot of outreach, and oftentimes we see complacency is we're happy with what's happening. If we're going to hear opposition, it's very loud and clear. The courtyard with the inside-outside ratio was something that Mr. McRitchie referenced, and I think Mr. Duke, I recognize it as well as a seasonal use. So mostly the patios are an accessory use. However, that doesn't preclude them from saying, I'm going to operate a seasonal business with mostly weather dependency on an exterior patio. I can give thought as to who else is doing that. So it came to mind, Tony's and Clambox probably have more outside seating than inside seating. They're seasonal uses. Matilda's hardly has anything inside. They haven't opened it in a few years, but it has that more seats outside. So I do see precedent for, while we are thinking inside, typically New England, you're not going to run a business with your primary use being outside in such a small seasonal window. If that's a financial risk Mr. DeBona wants to take, he can pursue that. On the side yard setback, another concern is that Mr. Duca and I work on this, and I've been here with various boards for different projects. Right off the bat, the other restaurants operating in our city within their setbacks, in Ward 1 of patio that I was involved with permitting through the licensing board, Rosafa, another one, Louis. Both of these are right up against, within their setbacks. And then I kind of thought citywide, Hancock Tavern, same deal, Assembly, same deal, the Shanty, the Townsend, Fowler House, Craig's Cafe, the Fours, all of them, all of those outdoor patio dining options are within that setback, and in some cases, like Craig's Cafe, is on the city sidewalk. So I feel that, while I understand Mr. Duca has had the same process, and we went through this as they each came forward, so you're sure, well, Louis, you're not building, there's nothing to issue a building permit for. Doing a patio is considered landscaping, that's not a building permit issuance, it is not something constructed within that setback. And Mr. Duca has been very consistent, in my opinion, in every single one of those Ward 1 projects I've been involved in. I did want to make note of the signage being temporary. That was a very big sign, bigger than what I think that the sponsor provided the sign to him, and there it was, and there's this big wall. Good for Republic to be such a neighbor to allow him to put something up, but I agree, signage is bigger, and I think they'll be looking at something. The patio, as you know, came together very quick last year at the end of the season, so he opened it just as the season was ending. I do want to make note about the Business B zoning and the underlying zoning for the area. While I have a lot of respect, and I do want to get her name down, Marina, your contact information so I can stay in touch with you, because I do have outreach opportunities to connect with you. It is a Business B zone, so the primary use is business, the secondary use is the residential. As we're developing the city, we are putting forward these mixed-use projects. So I just wanted to kind of give that understanding, as that's the the leading use is the business use, and we do want to see business development occur in the city of Quincy. I think that prior to him opening the patio, Mark shared with me, there had been some undesirables in the area, and what he was trying to avoid by removing that dumpster, by going with the nightly trash service, by cleaning the area up. He's really made a significant investment in improving. On the noise complaint, I have to tell you, of those patios I referenced, I have never myself received one noise complaint from a patio. I think it's a particularly popular trend. I know myself as a diner, I'm looking forward to sitting out there. I've spoken to many Cagney's customers who also are excited to see this new venture come online. But I do want Ms. Salinas particularly to know, 479-1212 Quincy Police non-emergency line, they're glad to field your phone calls, and we're glad to be responsive. But not one of those patios that we talked about has there been noise complaints, and we want to make sure that the neighbors do know who to call in case they have an issue, because we want to resolve it. The other point, I think, is one of the most important for me, is to speak to the character of Mr. DeBono as an operator. When we came to the licensing board last year for the 26th anniversary, and the 25th anniversary last year of Cagney's, Chief Keenan had lauded Mr. DeBono's operation. In 25 years as an operator, there had not been one violation that had caused him to present himself to the licensing board. The only time he had been there was when he applied for his license to operate his business, and then he applied for an extension of premises for an anniversary party. And you know, I really have seen when he purchased this building, he invested in the exterior, he invested in the interior, he invested in the food and beverage, quality of service, and he's really providing a great business to our community. His corporate citizenship, Attorney Fleming referenced, this business is a powerhouse for charity within our community. The Toys for Tots, I don't know if you've been to his holiday gathering, but not only is he, it's the biggest in southeastern Massachusetts, the biggest Toys for Tots drive that we have in southeastern Massachusetts. That's a huge caption area. His customers go out, they donate money leading up to it, they go shopping, and the place is packed, and they really provide a service. Whether Relay for Life in Quincy started there, the Quincy Fire Department and the breast cancer work they do, they utilize Cagney's as a resource. So many times, time and time again, good corporate citizen, you ask him to step up for something for the neighborhood, he's very consistent and always there and asking for nothing. The other most important thing for me is, can we find him when we need him? If there's an issue, do I know where to get him? He's always very accessible, he's in his business, that's why you have such a good operation, he's always very responsive to me. So I feel, while the zoning appeal before you, I'm comfortable with the decision that Mr. Duca made. Quite often when we talk about findings, him and I have conversations about what is the vibe of the neighborhood. So tonight I want to not only express my support for the application, or the lack of application, but my support for Cagney's, for their improvements that they're making. I also need to express on behalf of Councilor Noel DeBona his support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm kind of surprised that the parties came here with four of us tonight. I would have thought that they would have asked for, you know, a full 5-member board minutes. But I think that this is one of those situations where there's really not much we can do, because it's going to get appealed no matter what we say. And so with that in mind, I would think that I would go over to Mr. Duca's idea, which is give these people a couple more weeks to try to figure this out, and then come back to us. Coward's way out, maybe, but that's what I'm looking at.
I would have to agree with you. I think that they should get together, that we should give them an opportunity to do that. They should try to see whether there's common ground. We're in an awkward situation here where this is our first impression here in this case, and I'd be more comfortable letting them have an opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
2 weeks sounds fine.
Yeah, I mean, both sides obviously are tremendous members of this community, business-wise, personal-wise. I'm disappointed that there hasn't been more interaction among the two to try to figure this out. You know, certainly need some time to figure out the zoning angles of all the issues raised and the defenses raised to those issues, which is going to take us some time to figure out and to digest the memorandums that have been provided to us. I do think that the tenants, and certainly the tenant closest, should have the right to be able to enjoy her apartment. I also understand the laws with regard to this business expansion and the use of this patio. And I understand landscaping versus structures as far as encroachments. But the lighting, the music, the hours of operation, all should be consistent and done with a bit of compassion for the fact that there is residential next to this. And I am sincerely hoping that when we next come back, that there has been some sincere and fruitful discussions among the parties. Otherwise, we will make a decision. Be it a decision that's going to get appealed one way or the other, we will make a decision. But I think you guys can figure it out. And if not, we will. And believe me, if someone calls and says we need a couple more weeks to discuss it, you're not going to get any opposition from us, because I don't expect you guys to be able to figure it out in 2 weeks. I know as an attorney, I would have a tough time working out all the ups and downs going on in a very complicated situation. And forget about the subdivision, all that. I can figure that out plenty easy. But this is a community that has residential and business, and it is business zone, but they're living together. Obviously, the community is a great supporter of Cagney's. I certainly agree with Councilman Forrest that this is a great operation and a great operator, and those are few and far between, believe me. So I'm very hopeful that you guys will come to some type of arrangement that figures it out. And I get it, it's your retirement. I understand all of that, and I'm hopeful that you guys will come to something that will work and make it palatable for the tenant, palatable for the operator, palatable for the business owner. And I sincerely hope we come back. The issues have been narrowed down to a couple tiny ones, and that more people are smiling than are aggrieved. So sorry for my soliloquy, but that's this was a lot to take in, and got some work to do to figure it all out. So
to the parties, is 2 weeks enough, or do you want 4?
I would ask for 4. I'm currently temporarily serving as a director of an agency north of Boston, very limited free time, but Friday afternoon is about the only time I have available. So,
Councilor? 4 weeks?
May 9.
May 9?
I actually have a conflict that night, but I feel like I've
I
shared
think you
my...
have. It's not going to be, I'll ask the chair, but I don't think there'll be any more public comment. I think we did a lot of
What is that?
comments
Sorry,
today.
what's the?
May 9?
May 9.
It's Tuesday.
I do have jury duty.
I hope it doesn't go to
That
7:15.
day?
If it goes to 7:15, you've been sequestered now.
You know,
Sequester me,
Well, I think your counsel is well equipped to
Okay.
represent you.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's have a motion for
That's
May.
fine.
What's that?
May 9th is fine.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to application Z17-33, Paul Chenette, trustee of the P&D Realty Trust, for an appeal of the inability to receive enforcement for the premises number 210-216 Washington Street, Quincy. I make a motion to continue that case to May 9th, 2017.
Second?
Second.
On the motion, say none, all in favor?
Aye.
See you guys in 4 weeks.
do I understand Mr. Duke will be playing a role in this?
I understood that's what he said.
I'll be playing the role, Mr. McKay.